Hello, welcome to the Learning Tree Book Club's regular monthly meeting. And in 2025, we have new book club hours. Before from 2018 to 2024, we read from in the evening from 2 to 3:30 p.m. And now we're reading in the morning hours from 10 to 11:30 a.m. Central and 11 to 12:30 Eastern. And we adjusted the hours for the membership, but it seems that the evening hours were better for uh, uh, some and not for the morning hours better for others. But anyway, I'm Mary Coleman McGee, a founder member of the book club, and me and Vicky, who is also a founder member, um, we're faithful and we actually love reading and literature. Okay, Vicky.
Yes, hello, good morning. I'm Vicki Jenkins, and as Meredith says, I'm a founding member of the Community Library Book Club, and we're trying to get together this monthly book session meeting. And as we tell ourselves, intellect matters. So we're trying to get together a lot of the students and whoever that are interested in reading and to come and join us. So, good morning.
Intellect.
Say what now?
No. You're right. Intellect matters. This is an intellectual revolution. Yeah, and it ain't too
What I
small.
said, intellectual matters.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so you gonna start first or you want me to start?
Let me say here, I can start first for a minute here. And what I am doing now is called my sitters.
Okay, and then can I acknowledge this?
And it's geared toward a nursing assistant that is sitting toward a patient. While I am pregnant, when I was pregnant, beloved cousin Zaka was killed, shot in the back of the head. His tall frame always stood out, and one of his fitted plaid shirts buttoned to the top. He always wore boots full of real snake skin, and a black cowboy hat with a feather on the left side. He also had the largest belt buckle I had ever seen in my lifetime, and always snickered at his skiing, and I always snickered as his skinny pants. All the boys I ever saw wore oversized pants that sagged. I I learned all of life real lessons from soccer, like how to be a boss and always raise my head right and high whenever I introduce myself. When I was younger, I would spend time practicing how to say my name in front of him. All right, go, he would say. I would stand in front of him, holding my head as high as I could. Victoria, Dama, Lewis, I said. I grew up in Chicago and I spoke properly. Whenever I was introduced myself to the white families that my grandmother Louise cleaned, for they always tell me that I was intelligent because of it. That's right, little cousin. That is how you introduce yourself. Zaka, Zaka cheered me no matter what. He had more confidence than a runaway model. Zaka would have been a model, as all of the girls loved him. Everyone joked around with him, saying he would have babies in every town in Mississippi. He had straightened his teeth and looked whiter than Clorox, bleached his clothes. His black, clear, oily Vaseline skin looked like he wore makeup. Zaka was a man I took pride knowing. I was his first cousin. Now that the real kinfolk, I was his first cousin. That's real kinfolk. This is how I remembered him. When Zaka never had any babies. All of his all of his fast tail girls, as Grandma Lewis often called us, beat him to the punch. Even me, my daughter Monia, had was born shortly after Zaka was killed. When I saw her face for the first time, I knew something would have happened, would have changed. I wanted to break the cycle for my daughter, but no matter how I strived to escape the same hood that had slain Zaka, it was always located. It always located me. Something about that street life clings to my interest, probably because I was good at it. I was 17 when I graduated from high school and did not understand what I sought to be with my life and did not understand what I sought to do with my life. Not one person told me about college. I was clueless and ignorant. Furthermore, I was an unexpected young mother. All I comprehended was what I voiced to Zaka before he died. I'd be I would be a powerful boss of what I was supposed to do. I had no guidance, and now I messed up time, and now I had no guidance, and now most of the time I was penniless, single mother of Amanya. Okay, let me say it, of Mona. Mona's daddy denied her. You're a boss. I often heard Zaka's voice in my head. I would go back to 9 to 5 job, but I remembered my cousin Sabrina, who made a killing sitting with older white people. She worked for a temp service for many years. After sitting in Mississippi, after settling in Mississippi, therefore, she knew a lot of people who yearned for their own private sitter, not a temporary service one. Sabrina belonged to the Redbone Civic family, growing up in Cherry, growing up that cherry colored once got favoritism. The cherry color once got favoritism. And the blackberry ones, like myself, let's just say we were located outside with a reused plastic muggy milk jug of water in the scorching summer months in Mississippi. The cherry ones stayed in the house watching Tom and Jerry, Saved by the Bell, All My Children. Even in school, the cherry ones were always chosen in the parades as Mr. and Miss, fifth grade, Mr. and Mrs. Prom, King, and Queen. The teachers even cherry picked them to run all the errands, walking through the school hallways gracefully. We Blackberry stayed imprisoned in the classroom entirely, only prohibited to use the bathroom or maybe get a swallow of water. Sometimes we had recess, but who wants to go outside in the heat and get some even darker? Not me. I always pursued the cherries, leaving us blackberries the last option. I just hoped that in the case of sitting with the well-off white people, I mean, they would choose this mess during slavery. And I mean, they pioneered this mess during slavery by placing the brighter ones in the house and the darker ones in the field. Zaka told me this, and I had experienced firsthand that it was true. I was dark and related to the mistreatment by my own family, community, and society. Sitting. How troublesome how troublesome could it be? I thought I dealt with my worst sitting than sitting with the elderly white people. And I used to help Grandma Louise clean homes for loaded white people, which I was adolescent. She had coached me to labor while in the families. So I reckoned it would work out for me. Grandma Louise, as I called her, returned to prepared every single warmth in the family to work. The matured children called her Mama. She introduced every grandchild to the physical meaning of the Proverbs 12 chapter, the Proverbs 13th chapter, 24th verse. He that spake the rod and held his son, but he loveth himself, chasten him bedtimes. He that spank his rod, his son, had been that above the chastising in his bedtime. Whenever I went out in the street to pick up my own switch, I would hear them say, "Spare the rod, spoil the child." She was a strict with the permanent mean looking appearance, with the permanent mean looking appearance that frightened us youngsters. Grandma Lewis was a deep rooted Baptist whose rules mirrored the Ten Commandments. Thou shalt not trick or treat. We constantly had perfect attendance in church. We might be able to study. Sundays I call Triple C, short for 3 church services, namely first Sunday school, second children's church, and then the big adult church. Mama's favorite saying, if you party on Friday and Saturday night, you can't come to your ass out of the bed on Sunday. You can't get your ass out of the bed on Sunday. Yep. She was cursing Baptist Christian. She sometimes, before and after church, she would call us all. Occasionally, she would thump the brittle heads of the black and faded, good and battered, weather-ridden King James Bible. She would thump the back and head of the faded, good battered, weather-beaten King James Bible and 1617 edition, first written edition. Typical Southern grandma. Grandma Louise boasted the whole helping the gorgeous black-eyed snowflakes, babies, and the warm-hearted them to young'uns. Those white families labored for treasure her. She could effortlessly seem to sitting a job, cleaning jobs, etc. Grandma Louise bred families, work horses. She would bed for me. But she would bed familiar workhorses, and she refused to plant a reputation in her field of work for any of us. My cousin Sabrina was different. She referred to anyone hunting and sitting jobs. Sabrina had them hooked up, so it merely took a few days to stumble on my initial sitting job. They respected the proper speaking outside of Chicago, branded as Chick Rain, chaming Saber, as Terrain claiming Sabrina. She migrated south years ago with her oversized stuff bags. She extensive sitting sophistication, maneuvering in the hearts of the many elderly white clients. She established trustworthy relationship. She understood exactly how to landslide under people's skin despite color. Sabrina skilled techniques unlocked doors for others like me. That's the first chapter. You can go, it can do
Okay.
that. Huh?
Okay, you want me to start reading?
Yeah, you start reading.
Okay. Okay, Vicky, can you see?
Okay.
This is a new book about. I heard about this book and I bought it last week. It's called She Rose of the Haitian Revolution. And since this is Women's History Month, I
Uh,
wanted to read some women's history. And it's written by Bana Bello. I hate to mess up somebody's name. And um, Curvin Andrew. Curvin. That's interesting. Curvin instead of we used to Calvin.
oh, okay.
Curvin as in K-E-R. She Rose of the Haitian Revolution. And this was written in 2019. Oh, it was manufactured in the United States. Now I wanted to read her dedication
Okay.
because it's to a woman, her mother, to my mother, Marie, Christine Marie Lois Dermison, this warrior who made it a daily mission to move heaven and earth to provide the needs of her siblings, her children, grandchildren, and neighbors. What a force of nature. And this is a quote from the author. Know thyself all the way to your creators, and this truth shall make you free. That's interesting. I'll read that again, Vicky. Know thyself all the way to your creators, and this truth shall make you free. Okay, so the author's note. History or his story is the story of the men existing on the land within a parenthesis of time. Our story captures the light from the stories created by the mingling of relations, decisions, vibrations, actions, inspirations of ancestors, elders, women, men, young and old, newborn, and centenarians, as well as plants and animals, elements and climate behaviors existing on a particular space, time, guided by the spirit of our ancestors, under the protection of the divine mother. This servant of the people wishes to share a bit of our story of Ati, free from the imposed Euro-Christian vision of what happened, with an emphasis on the contribution of women. Women, the expression of the primordial enemies, women who have been so systematically left out in all of the his story books of the world. That is not feminism. This is justice. Ata is the land of the Arawak people. This particular island bore the name Atta for over 4,000 years prior to its invasion of Euro Christian thieves and criminals. In those days, the island bore three names: Ati, Kiskaya, and Boya. And please forgive me for messing up these words. Okay. 12 ethnic groups and a group of Africans, mainly from Egypt, Phoenicia, and Mali, shared it. The most recent ones came with the expedition of the Malian king Mansa Abba Baraka II, brother, the successor of the mainland throne, Mansa Musa, in 1311. That was before so-called Africa and America suffered the barbarous system of slavery established by Euro Christians on these continents. Euro Christian slavery made it legal to practice genocide against the non-white peoples of the world, to kidnap Africans and bring them anywhere, to America in particular. America with its forged laws and practices dictated by greed and inhumanity that forced Africans to become something other than themselves, slaves. Therefore, our story began simultaneously here with the Arawaks over 4,000 years ago, and there with the Africans more than 10,000 years ago. So she's saying that this story started with the Arawaks over 4,000 years ago, and with the Africans in Africa over 10,000 years ago. In fact, in an attempt to approach correctness, we should use a term like Cometians instead of Africans. Hope you meet yourself as you read the various bios offered in this book. Vicky, she said, hope you meet yourself as you read the various bios offered in this book. Now that's the author's note.
Okay.
And she uses terms like, she says history, she calls it his story.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's the first sentence. And then she says, our story. And she differentiates between history, his story, and our story. There's another term that she uses. Let's see. Euro Christian, as in the European Christian ideology, and she says that they embraced genocide. Um, and I can actually, feel the story. It's like it's really resonating in my soul when she talks about piece of my own legacy, even though I'm here in America and that's Haitian, but even they came from Africa and we were here on these lands before the institution of slavery. So that's the part that really touches my soul. Okay, so this is the first one. You see here?
Okay.
Now, forgive me again for messing up the name, Vicky, but I'm gonna try, okay? Anna, uh, Anna, Anna, Anna Kaona. Uh, that's the best I could do. Anna Kaona was a Cossackess. And then in reference it says queen. Oh my goodness. Okay, so here she is, and she's looking out as the what they call Euro Christians are coming in the ships. I got to let Deacon in, Vicky. One second.
Okay. We're still talking about, like I said, the sitter, and it's
Oh,
telling.
Vicky.
It's,
Hold on. I went through. I was letting Deacon in, and I'm gonna read this page.
okay, you go.
Hold on one second. Hey, D.
Good morning,
Hey,
McGee.
where are you? Where are you today?
I'm down here in Jessica Vision. We had our Better Men Mississippi conference this morning. We had our speaker, so I just didn't step out. Come in to the to this.
The Better Men Society has a conference.
No, Better Men of Mississippi conference.
Oh yeah, where is the conference?
It's right here in Jessica Convention Center.
Oh, at the Jackson Convention Center. Oh yeah,
Yes.
you dressed for the occasion. You got your hat on.
Yes.
What does it say?
It's here. It said hustler. I'm the
Oh,
hustler. I'm hustling
okay.
right now. You know, when I go to different events and stuff, I'm hustling. You see
Okay.
the search? You can search here at Tupac
My
Shakur.
goodness. Okay, so you buy and you rocking Tupac Shakur, huh? A money
Yes.
Shakur.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, Deke. We appreciate you, and we really need some poets for our poetry contest. If you know anybody that wants to get in the poetry contest, for the Smith Robinson, for the Jackson Book Festival, which is at the end
Yeah.
of the month.
Okay. I'm coming out. I'm gonna come on out.
Hey, Tim.
Hey, Biggie.
Uh-huh. All right then. Well, thank you, Deke. Okay, Vic, I'm gonna finish this story
Okay.
about Anna her owner. Okay. Okay, so she was born into the royal court of the kingdom of Ati. Early on, she exhibited many talents appreciated in her community. She shone with spiritual powers, intelligence, great oratory skills, and an ability to inspire trust in the people. She was a fine singer, poet, and sports person too. Wow. She was a fine singer, poet, and a sports person. Already as a young girl, she was often called to assist her older brother, Bohokia, at the head of the um, ex-Ranga Kisaka. The position naturally became hers after Bohokia's removal due to illness. And Kona sat as an equal among the five Cossacks, forming the crown that governed the entire island. She was married to the intrepid K.O. Noble, who was Kisik of Magwana. In the year 1492, Euro Christians savagely invaded Atta and with lies and scams slaughtered the 4 male members of the crown within 3 years. Anaconda was now the only living member of the crown. Through her extraordinary talents and state womanship, she was not only able to survive, but to lead the fight against various invaders. She mounted armies of thousands, armed with bows and arrows, to confront the heavily armed enemy. Under her leadership, she won many battles. Oh my goodness, her the they murdered her brothers who were leading this island, and she was the only one left. So she took up arms uh, to fight, which is tremendous. Due to the success of Francisca's Anaconda's resistance, the Spanish crown sent in a new governor to attempt to crush her defense. The ruthless Abando sent a peace offering to which Anaconda eventually agreed. It ended up being a trap. And Anaconda was captured. She was tried, found guilty of treason against Spain, and sentenced to death. She was offered clemency if she would convert to Catholicism and agreed to be a concubine to one of the European officers. She refused. Kisica's Anaconda was then hanged and burnt at the stake October 3rd, 1503. And she accepted death rather than be a concubine of the conqueror. Anaconda's legacy lived on in her nephew, Kisic Henry, who led one of the most successful resistance efforts in new generation Tonga history. Henry's revolt resulted in the first signed in the Americas by indigenous people with Euro Christians. Signed treaty, I'm sorry. Kisica Anaconda's story continues to inspire millions of women and men to pursue the fight against injustice and the collective interest. Oh man, I've never heard of her.
Okay. Okay.
She's just inspiring. I mean, wow. She took up resistance, and when they offered peace for her to um, teach her people the religion of the conquerors, the Catholic religion, and be one of the side chicks of one of the officers, she said no, and she died rather than compromise with that ideology. And then her descendant is Henry, who led a revolt later. Okay, Vicky, it's back yours.
Okay. Started off the weekend performance in private settings with an old-fashioned couple, Mr. and Mrs. Bradford. It was a boring hell, but it waged more than the hair design. It waged more than a hair design college break when I was employed. Plus, my mom agreed to watch after Mona while I worked on weekends. Mona arrived into the world, swiping hearts, the family's first girl. in years, stole the show. I didn't have a terrible time coming across the family to babysit her if necessary. My chocolate bald baby girl with a deep jaw dimples was precious and was adorable. Barely caroling out of Betty crying out for no reason. Baby Mona was a diva. My baby was like no other, but instead like a woman stuck in a baby's body. I mean, she kept her clothes puke free. My mama would always sniff off her neck to see if it's sour. To see if it's sour. Then single-handedly, the time is shrunk. Mona stayed fresh and picture perfect while constantly smiling at everyone. A favorable, happy baby. Contributing so much of the inspiration when my get up and go motivation was so empty. Moma launched out in a federal whining sound, in a sweet whining sound. Whenever I shifted my sugar up from the daycare, whenever I lifted my sugar up from the daycare on my mama's house, I felt an exceptionally mama whining sound. She missed me just as much as I missed her. Someday, I pray to be financially stable, financially situated to reside. Home, sweet home with Mona. My sugar entirely. This would eliminate dropping her off while I grind. This would eliminate dropping her off while I grind. Until then, I will cling to my dreams. My primary first-term client was Mrs. Lane. I cared for her before Mona was 11 months. Finally, having my own client made me feel accepted, accomplished. I would be informed Monday through Friday, a 9 to 5 case schedule. I will get no better than that. Mrs. Lane was a thin, white woman with my grayish blue eyes. My other eye was brown. The other eye was brown. Her high cheek bones were blushed with color, and the short blonde hair off a brown liner with pink lipstick and made her lip look fuller. She sported a lost sapphire silk blouse and indigo dress slacks, as if she were just coming home from a busy day at the office. But in all reality, she was wheelchair and couldn't even speak. A married man I dreamed came true. On my first day, when I first walked into her home, I was flabbergasted, thinking that it was just like a mansion. Mrs. Lane and her husband shared two-story home with enjoyable sunset view from the first floor deck. It was occupied by two dingy mutts. Just nasty. Minus the mutts in place. Minus the mutts in place was spot on goods for a young Black girl like me. Mr. Lane was finally hitched over the walk sluggishly, chafing his wife, while his wheelchair, Mr. Lane was finally hunched over his wife, sluggishly shuffling his wife's wheelchair, and while parading around her home for the first time. This place had gone shebang. This place had been a whole lot shebang. Gleaming hardwood floors, enormous elevated windows with modern touch. I developed a hunger for material things like this, so I recognized lavish property when I saw it. The custom-built kitchen ought to have been a few more smidgens bigger. Chestnut kitchen tables surrounded by even darker granite cabinets dressed the size of one human eye. I glanced at the multicolored busy master suite with impressive modern-day bathrooms. It was a perfect size for Lane large white jacuzzi tub. My, look at this sunroom, cleared line with hot tub and a huge brown ring. Yes, they aren't the only ones that enjoying that anymore. The movie theater had not been touched. Trash still molded. Popcorn appeared months ago. I might have been a hater. Mr. Lane finished Mr. Lane finished flaunting around me while in their home. I had a little input given. He had a little input given impression of my grumpy old man. He was over 6 feet. Mr. Lane's ears bore a resemblance to comical cartoons. His skin was pale white and had wrinkle tats everywhere. I wasn't accustomed to meeting the class of a white man, and my grandma Louise had not labored for white husbands like this. Back when she spick and spanned residences The white husbands spotted double-breasted suits and long-sleeve white suits underneath, white shirts underneath. The husbands fixed the wives with gold diamond squared cufflinks, smelling like big bucks, wearing a chafe-free brown shirt shoes, chaff-free brown shirt shoes. Therefore, glimpsing Mr. Lane's tattoos and brown shirts and brown basic t-shirts was an eyesore. After we concluded the tour, it was a time to chat about the position. Mr. Lane wheeled Mrs. Lane into the custom-sized kitchen and sat at their long chestnut wooden table with pen and notepad, writing down everything he said. Mr. Lane just smiled and shook her head. She just agreed with everything he said. In my family, women didn't shake their heads. They rolled their eyes, neck pointed, rolled her eyes and neck and pointed their fingers. They rolled their eyes and pointed their fingers in your face. Rolled their eyes and pointed their fingers in your face. So this was different for me. When Mr. Lane done talking, I totaled the list of duties they had for me. While it was item for while they have itemized the receipt, I told myself the responsibilities surpassed 10. I wasn't coming back. If the responsibilities surpassed 10, I wasn't coming back. I had shit to do. Luckily for them, it was no more than 7 caregiving requirements. Is that all, Mr. Lane? I asked. I was ready to go. Yes, of course, that's all. Not much, is it? No, sir. I grabbed my purse and took out my keys. This was how I let people know that I was ready to go. Well, we'll walk you to the door, Mr. Lane said. And just like that, my first day, even though it was boring, introduction was over. As I proceeded toward the door, toward the front of the door, I sensed Mr. Lane's eyes on my back. I gazed back at him and made certain the senses were dead right. Made certain my senses was dead right. It was. I released a slight smile and quickly made my way out of the front door. I walked down the brick steps leading out the house, and always and as slowly as I dared to go. The house was all brick and remained to me and reminded to me of a story Grandma Louise told me. When I was around 13 years old, she told me about the Ole Miss riot. She told me about the Ole Miss riot of 1962. She was cleaning the house for another rich white family. The news came down through the family's radio, which stopped to the middle of the middle of what we was doing quickly. Mopped back the buck. Quickly put the mop back in the bucket full of the perky white water and ran outside to sit in their porch. As I sat on their brick porch, tiny goose bumped across their arms. She heard about the brick being thrown during the riot. I thought Mr. Lane was one of those white men. I thought Mr. Lane was one of those white men. Hell, he was about 15 years old when my grandmother so fit him. Excuse, please. Was there bricks thrown? I'm sure that this was your uncle's riot, right?
Yeah, she's talking about what I want to say that a riot is a rowdy, violent something. It was an insurrection because two people were killed and over I can't remember over 150 people were injured. There was gunplay. There was an insurrection rather than a riot. But yes, it was when he was integrating University of Mississippi.
That's what this was called. What they were talking about, Ole Miss Riot of '62.
Yes.
That's what they were. That's the incident that was mentioned. Ole Miss Riot of '62.
Yes, and I'm
And I
saying
think that was his time.
insurrection rather than a riot because people were there was two people killed and over 150 people were injured. There was guns involved. It wasn't a riot is where people are rowdy.
Yeah.
But when people die, it was violent.
And that's what caught my attention. At Ole Miss at '62. That's what caught my attention.
So she said the lady was working there, working on the campus.
Talked about his name was Lane.
Oh, he was working there on the campus in '62.
Right. Like his name was Lane, and Lane was the people that she was working for. The white lady that she was sitting for, his name was Lane.
Oh, the lady was working for them in '62.
Right. Her grandmother, the lady that wrote the book, her grandmother was working there at '62.
Working on campus of Ole Miss.
Right. And the man that they were working for, the man that she was working for, was named Lane, and Mr. Lane, her boss, was the one that was in almost in '62.
I get you. Oh, Vicky, you reading Our Star? You reading Our Star? I'm thinking about what the lady said. History is his story, and then when we write it, it's our story. Anyway, I'm messing with you. I'm gonna turn my volume off.
And that's what caught my attention was about his story about when she was talking about the incident in '62 and so forth. But her grandmother told her the story about '62. That's what I was saying. I hauled out the I hauled I, I hauled out the driveway speedily. I held out the driveway speedily. I had without appearance intimidated. I felt without appearance intimidated. Later that night, after I bathed and rubbed Mona down with her baby lotion, her innocent brown eyes, my attention, the way she eyeballed me while holding her own bottle, while she eyeballed me and holding her own bottle with one hand, bonded me indifferently. Realizing that she was growing, once she finished her bottle, she finished her bottle, I laid her down and her girly playpen, removing each toy, wishing that she could ease to sleep, and cracked my bathroom door. And when she could ease her sleep, I cracked the bathroom door open, watching her while I took a bath. Halfway through my bath, she stood up yelling, "Mama, like hurry up." Those tight brown eyes of hers pierced at my soul again. I rushed out of the tub, washing my body. Mona yelling, "Mama," made me eager. I felt the warmth of my body. I dried off through my underwear and shirt, which grabbed my baby. I turned the lights off, snuggled us under covers, and silk floppy scarves. I slipped off in adjusting the pillow. By a little, I responded and came from holding her until I eased out of the bed and flicked the lights on. Mona had properly popped up and flung over back. Then she climbed out of the bed, climbing down her miniature bare feet, reached to the floor. Mona stared up, stared up, stared up at me like I was coming. "Mommy," the entire time I was in the bathroom. She wriggled my scarf while my eyes lit and embodied her. She had only on one side. We both sweated at night. Fewer clothes had now rocked, became fonder, sweated at night. Fewer clothes and how we rocked, became fonder at night. I grinned of motherhood. I grinned as she headed down my way. Mona started crawling toward me, saying, "Mama." I was done fiddling my headscarf, and she chose to pay attention to her, specifically to see what she would do. I then glanced at the non-fitting cable box clock to check the time. The box displayed 10:14, Monday, work night, without warning. Mona plucked up the chair, trembling as she stood up. Baby girl wobbled. my directness remaining. The baby girl wobble. My directness reminding me of a drunk. Mona walked to me, and first time, still on her feet, staggering, as she whined, Mama. Mona reached me. I was so overjoyed that I cried, thinking that she would have been at work, thinking that I would have been at work whenever she took her first step. I praised and kissed and hugged her so tight. She was just 11 months old. She laid back down. I positioned her on my chest, spoiling her. Once Mona started drooling, it was night night. Once Mona started drooling, it was night night. As she said, I shut.
Vicky.
Huh?
Well, we got 15 minutes left, so I'm gonna read
Okay.
one more a story.
Okay.
So what you was just talking about is her child or grandchild?
This is her child.
Okay. And it was her mother who worked at the University of Mississippi
Right.
Institute.
Yeah.
And now
mother.
And her grandchild, where does she live? Does she live in Oxford or she lives in Jackson?
She lives in Jackson.
She lives in Jackson now, but she's from Oxford.
Right.
Okay, I guess.
She lived in Jackson, yeah.
Okay, so this
okay.
And the whole hour and a half has gone by so quick, and it's just two readers. The Haitian Revolution. Women warriors. So and this one is Cecile Fatima. Oh, I know I messed it up. This is her picture.
Okay.
Okay. Cecile Fatima was one of the most highly respected, sought after Mambo in the French slave colony of Saint Dominique. Born in France to a Senegalese mother and a white French father. So she was, her mother was a Senegalese African woman and her father was a French. And she was born in France.
Yeah.
She was the oldest of two girls and one boy. No one knows why her Corsican father abruptly sold his wife and children into slavery. So they were sold into slavery from Africa by the father. No one knows why her, okay, upon arriving in Saint Dominique from Africa to South America in the Caribbean, she never saw her family again when she arrived here. And that was the horror of institutional slavery, separating families. Upon arriving in Saint Dominique, okay, she quickly made a name for herself on the plantation with her striking beauty and avid green eyes. Isn't that something? Because she had one African parent and one French parent, she had the green eyes. Usually, a woman with features as attractive as Cecile's would be confined to the house slave status. However, her unsubmissiveness, she was rebellious. They put her in the field instead of letting her be in the house.
Oh, okay.
She might have had a mouth, Vicky. Okay. As a captive assigned to field work, she grew into a master communicator and formed codified networks all over the island. It was at this point that she began to organize what would eventually become the only successful revolt of African captives in our history. Cecile trained her network to be stealth while transmitting information from plantation to plantation, miles away from each other. She created codes for names and places and people so that enslaved informers could not notify slavers. Oh, wow. They had a whole language. It took Cecile and her network of women years to organize the most famous gathering in Haitian art stories. So this writer's calling the experience our story instead of history. She calls history his
Oh,
story. Now referred to in the books as the ceremony of Bar Kenyon. Participants in this long-awaited Congress of the savagery changed African captives, including some freed women and men, as well as some maroons. Each had their own ideas of how the fight for freedom could be won. Some didn't believe that freedom was possible at all. That is precisely when the African captive Bookman, a coachman, rose from his position and delivered a speech now referred to as Bookman's prayer. This text resonates throughout our story, with everyone in agreement on what on how to move forward. Cecile then presided over the ceremony, during which everyone attending took the sacred oath: freedom or death. Wow. Those field workers, enslaved workers, took an oath, and they all got together without the house enslaved people knowing what they were doing through a codified system. And they all took an oath, and the oath was this: freedom or death. And I thought, wow, that's something. 13 years after the Bar Kenyon ceremony, freedom was won, and they got their freedom. Cecile lived to celebrate and enjoy the independence, and many years after that, eventually a clear-minded Cecile transitioned to the ancestor realm at the ripe old age of 112 years old. Isn't that something?
all right now.
Still to be 112 years old, the daughter of an African woman who was born in France. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah. And her father was French. And she was just rebellious, beautiful, but they didn't put her in the house because she was rebellious. And they made her work in the field. And in the field, she created codes and organized her people from plantation to plantation. And they revolted and got their independence. because of her. Then she lived to be 112 years old. If that ain't women history, I don't know what is. And what
I,
is our history?
I know.
Uh-huh. Well,
Speaking of, it's today is my grandfather's birthday. He would be 114.
oh, today is your grandfather's birthday.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Right. He would be 114 if he was still here. He'd be 114.
And your grandfather, was he born in Clarksdale?
Yeah.
He
No, no,
was
no.
born.
My grandfather was born in like Lexington. Now, why they left town and they got to Clarksdale, they went someplace, but they were born in Lexington. My grandfather.
Oh, yeah.
He was born in Lexington, and then when everybody left home, I don't really know where all everybody left. But when I knew of it, he and my grandmother were in Clarksdale. Now that's the only place I know of. So now where he went before then, I know he served time. He served in the military someplace, but see, it's a lot of his story I don't know. So he served in the military someplace, and I know when when he and my grandmother got together, they were in Clarksdale. And this is dad, and this is daddy's daddy and mother.
What year was your daddy born?
32.
Okay, so your grandfather was born what year?
11.
Okay, 1911 in
Right.
Holmes County, Lexington, Holmes County.
Yeah,
He
my
was born
daddy
in
was
Lexington,
born
Holmes
January 3rd and 32. My grandfather was daddy's daddy was born March the 1st. Like I said, today. He was March the 1st in 1911.
County. Okay, and so that's how that line your bloodline was made it to Clarksdale because of your grandfather, but he
Right.
was born in Holmes County.
Right.
What was his father and mother's name? Do you know that?
His mother's name, his daddy's name was Robert Jenkins. And his mother's name was Mitty Glover. Now, from what I'm
Wow.
learning, see, this is how Danny Glover got somewhere in our family. His my grandfather, my grandfather's mother was Mitty Glover,
Wow.
and that's what daddy's name was Robert Jenkins.
Uh-huh. We got Glovers on my father's side from Alabama.
Okay.
Uh-huh. So that's interesting. But
The,
anyway, so what your great grandparents, where were they born?
what the Glovers?
Yeah, the Glovers and Robert Jenkins.
Oh, the Glover and Robert Jenkins. I'm thinking that they were born in Lexington because where they were in, like I said, Holmes County. Where they were was near the reservation. That's in the area where they were. Now, what the actual town was, I know, but how I know is they were near the reservation. So,
But
and whatever,
they were born after slavery.
huh?
They both were born after slavery. The parents of your grandfather, who was born in 1911, his
Right,
parents were born after slavery.
right.
Can you go up above that?
What now?
Can you go up one more generation?
No, I can't. Not. No, I can't, because I was trying to trace our tree, and I can look it up. I guess I can trace it on Ancestry. But the only family that I know of that I can learn stuff from is no longer here. So
Yeah. Yeah, well, I we can go up into um I could go up to my uh third my great grandmother, who was born in 1890. Her name was Caroline Patterson, and I would like to pay homage to her in terms of women history. Um, and we don't even have time for me to talk more about it because the club is just about over now. But anyway, I wanted to at least mention her. And she was born in South Carolina.
And see,
She was
part that I don't know. My dad's mother was Creole. She was down and she was out was it in the bayou of New Orleans. My dad's mother.
okay. You mean what's her name?
Her
Glover?
Elnora Lust. Lust. Elnora Lust.
Oh, his mother. I see what you're saying. Your grandfather married a woman who was Creole. Your grandfather
Right.
was born in 1911 in
Yeah,
Holmes County, married a woman
1911.
that was Creole.
And my grandmother was born in 13. She was born January 20, 1913.
In Louisiana. Louisiana? Vicky, she was born in Louisiana?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, all right. It's been a good meeting, and it's always a good learning experience.
Yeah.
And,
'Cause and like
I
I said,
see.
it's a lot, it's a lot of family. See, you have the access to learn all about your family tree. And I appear to be the only one in my family that's interested in tracing a tree. And I'm going to ancestry.com and going to where all I could do to find the tree.
Oh
But
yeah, it'll help. It'll help. It'll help.
other, and it's just me and my brother. My brother is not interested in tracing that tree.
Well, Vicky. Okay. Well, keep tracing your tree, and then you can share it with your brother. And me and my cousin gonna walk door to door and pass out flyers for the book festival in a few
Okay.
minutes. If you
Oh
want to
yeah,
come with us, you can.
yeah.
I don't know
We're
if you
putting the family
you
tree
know
down
you
with the
can.
book festival. Pick the book festival back up. Yeah. So
Uh-huh.
that's first and foremost right now. But I find out the tree. I'm tracing it, but I find out the family tree. Yeah.
Okay, then. Well, I'll talk to you later and have a wonderful rest of your day. All right.